Good morning and welcome to another Monday, a Monday in August. And I don't know about you, but wherever you are, but here although it's still beautiful, I'm just detecting a little shift in the weather. There's a sensation that things are changing and that we're preparing to go into the autumn and the winter months. So if you're joining me live, you're very, very welcome. This is my Monday Messages, and I'm Rebecca. I'm a homeopath, I'm a holistic life coach and natural health advocate. So just pop in here on a Monday just to share a thought or a simple practice, something to stimulate all of us to looking after ourselves as best we can. And this is the time of year where it's a really good time to do that. And often we are thinking that everything's great, everything's fantastic, and we're still enjoying the warmth of the sun and the relatively long days. And that, I hope, is true for as many of us as possible. Going back to school can be a kind of signpost, even if you haven't got kids of school age, which I haven't anymore. But it's often a signpost for just a reminder that we are about to go through that transition seasonally. And also that we often, with the less long days and the colder weather, often a changing routine, that we are asking ourselves, both inside and out, to make those changes, to adapt, and to do that in a way that makes sure that our health doesn't suffer. And we're not always very good at that. And kids have the same issues. And many of my regular clients actually have already been booking in for an annual kind of NCT or MOT, as it's called in the UK, just a holistic health check, just to make sure that everything is working as it should, that nothing needs maybe a little bit of extra support, or that you need to put in some extra tools for any reason. I've had several children last week who are about to start secondary school, and much to their parents' surprise, it's actually brought up a number of stressors. And kids don't always communicate that verbally, but they are very good at communicating it in other ways. And if we're vigilant as parents, we might notice that their behaviour isn't quite, normal. They might be very stroppy or very tearful, very clingy. There might be bad dreams happening. There might be a return of some old behaviours that you thought you'd seen the last of, or even things like bedwetting, actually. Those are kind of just signs that there is stress present. And often it will be about the unknown. It will be, okay, what if I don't get on with that new teacher? What if I don't make new friends? What if I fail in some way? What if I can't do all the work that's required of me? How will I know which room to go into? How will I know what books I need? All kinds of things can manifest. And thank you for joining me. I can't see who that is. But anyway, thank you. All of those things can stress kids, and we often think, stress, children can't be stressed. What have they got to be stressed about? But they are. And it led me to actually think about, well, what is stress? Because we bandy this term about all the time. Now you hear all sorts of references to stress, and it's another one of these very blanket terms. They're what I call blanket terms because they actually they're just words, and they cover a whole array of issues, possible issues, and possible responses. And what stresses me out isn't necessarily going to stress you out or your child out. So it's very, very individual as to what stress actually means. So it's like any diagnosis. If somebody comes in to me and says, I'm feeling really stressed and I'd like you to address that, I will immediately say, well, what is stress for you? What does it mean for you? How do you feel that stress? And what are the things that you think tip you into feeling like that? And then we can find an appropriate remedy that will address that. And also sometimes it's appropriate that I use things like my QTT techniques and methods to help shift those stresses and eliminate them altogether, hopefully. So now is the time of year really to think about what may cause you some kind of stress, you or a family member. And if you look at the definition of stress, we often think of stress as being some kind of nebulous mental emotional state, but actually, its roots are very physical. I looked it up in my old dictionary, and there's a whole load of definitions actually, but it's basically the overpowering pressure of some adverse force or influence. A strained effort. It produces a strained effort or a strained exertion upon either a bodily organ or a mental power. And, even when we think about putting stress, using the word stress in a different way, putting stress on a word, it's an unusual emphasis on something. To highlight it, to bring it to people's attention. And too often stress is used to, you're applying pressure to get something, to get some kind of result. And if you think about stretching an elastic band, we often used to do this as kids, just see when is it going to break. You're stretching it and stretching it and stretching it, and you're aware that it's getting tauter and tauter, tighter and tighter, and you might even be beginning to see signs that the colour is changing, that it's getting paler if it's a coloured elastic band. Those are signs that things are changing and that the qualities of the elastic band are not the same as they should be when it's fully together. And then eventually, if we don't relax things, it just breaks. And that is exactly what stress is. And stress can be, obviously it can be mental, emotional. It can be if you're doing a job that you absolutely hate every day, or that you find is asking you to behave in a way that is not congruent with your values or how you feel about things. It can be about being in relationships where the same thing is true, where you're making yourself small all the time, where you're hiding yourself, where you're unable to speak the things that you want to say. It can be also physical, and that's what we often forget, is that when we're not putting in the right nutrients, we're not taking in clean water, fresh air, where we're not moving around as we should, we're not getting enough sleep perhaps, all of those things are stressing our internal organs and organ systems, and we are asking them to work overtime but with less pay, basically. And that might be okay for a little while, but eventually something will come in from outside, something unexpected, like a change in season, it getting colder, or just something that needs a bit more of my attention. And that will be the straw that broke the camel's back. And then we have pathology. The body will just go, I can't do that anymore. And then things will start not working very well. And my ethos is very much to encourage everybody to not get to that state, because we don't have to. So if you are able to, think about now the coming winter months, the cold, the lack of light, the change of routine, whatever it is, and just ask yourself, are any of those things likely to mean that I'm going to have to adapt in some way, that I'm going to have to need to call upon my reserves in order to just shift myself a bit? And if you do, then ask yourself, do I have enough reserves to do that healthily? And if the answer is I'm not sure, then you can book a clarity call with me and we can go through things. And if you know that is the case and that you really do need a little bit of recharging, then now is the time to come for a full health checkup. And that can apply to your children as well. Just strengthen everything up, get everything prepared and working to full capacity before you enter a time where you might hit a bit of a health crisis. Coughs, colds, ear infections, chest infections. The colder months are the season for that. And it's not always just because it's cold. It can be for all sorts of different reasons. So that's my message today, is to just get you thinking about that, whether that's for you or for a family member, and know that you can choose to do something about it. You can actually take action now before you hit crisis point, and you can address any issues, whether that's physical, emotional, or spiritual, or all three. And if you aren't sure about whether you need that, then as I say, I do offer a clarity call, and you can just have a chat and we can work out what's the best way forward for you. You can just click on the link with this video to access more information about that and about my consultations. So that's my message today, is prevention, always better, cheaper, faster than cure. And looking after your health is an ongoing process. It's not a one-off event. So that's the message I'm leaving you with today. Have a beautiful week, and thank you so much for watching.